Okay, so you know how Random Toy Review has a proper intro? Well, one of these days, Thoughts On is going to have an intro. I just don't know what I want it to look like yet. So I'll make one soon, maybe. But I don't really do Thoughts On that often, so it's probably not going to be a top priority. But anyway, it's been a while since I did Thoughts On, and I have something to do that I have Thoughts On now. I want to give my thoughts on the new movie Zootopia 2. I saw it 2 days ago. I didn't have time to record my initial thoughts then, but 2 days later, they're still fresh in my mind, and I want to talk about Zootopia 2. And the reason I want to see this movie is because I love the first movie so much. I was 14 when I saw that movie, and as soon as it came out on Blu-ray, I bought it, and I probably watched it on a monthly basis for like a year straight. So I'm a big fan of Zootopia 1, so I was excited for Zootopia 2. I'm glad I didn't see any trailers. I wanted the movie to be as fresh and surprising as possible, and I don't regret that, because this movie is pretty damn good. It is on par with the first movie, borderline. Is it better or not as good? I don't really know yet. Maybe I have to watch it a couple more times. But I will be watching it again because I am going to buy this on home video when it comes out because I like it a lot. Now, first things first, the most important thing in any Zootopia movie, if they weren't going to do this, the movie was going to fail. They brought back Shakira. Woohoo! All right, yeah, you can't have Zootopia and not Shakira in it. But anyway, all joking aside, yeah, pretty much the entire cast of the first movie is back. Jennifer Goodwin, Jason Bateman, all that stuff. Idris Elba. We got some new cast members. Patrick Warburton comes back, and I like him. He's pretty funny, even though he didn't have as big of a presence as I thought he was going to. But I'm satisfied with what they do with him, and I'll be more on that in a minute. What I liked about this movie is that, the characters feel just as fresh as they did the first one. See, the last movie was 9 years ago, but this new movie picks up immediately after the first one left off, kind of like how Incredibles 2 did. And I think that's probably that's probably the best way they could have done it. Easily. Because it literally feels like no time has passed, even though 9 years have passed. I'd say this is going to be a little bit of spoilers. I'm going to start with no spoilers, and then towards the end, I'll introduce some spoilers. What I did like about it, I thought the whole the mystery was, or at least the detective plot of this movie was a little more convoluted than the last one. I didn't quite get it at first. I was like, wait, what's going on? But then as the movie progressed, it made more sense. I think on second viewing, I must have missed something because I was like, I don't know, reaching for popcorn or something. Who knows? But yeah, is this one thing about that this movie did differently that I kind of liked, and then they kind of Disney went back into their old habits, was the previous movie had a twist villain. There was no main villain of the first movie until the very end when it's revealed who the twist villain was. Disney, ever since for the past 10 years, or at least since Frozen, maybe earlier, Disney has been absolutely obsessed with twist villains, and they're not all bad, but I am starting to get a little sick of them, and I'm not the only one. I'm a little fatigued to the twist villain. What I liked about this movie is that it didn't do that. Well, again, we're getting to spoilers in a little bit, but it started off with a clear, established villain, which I do appreciate. However, the villain was he was not a character in the first movie, and I'll be honest, this movie didn't have that as much screen time as I would have liked. He didn't really feel all that developed as a character. He kind of was just kind of a two-dimensional mustache twirler, if I'm being honest. Even though his motives make sense. Because the thing about Zootopia is that the first movie was a metaphor for racism and that kind of stuff. And this movie is also the same thing, I guess I'll get into it. Yeah, the villain was he's like the head is the head of the family of Canada lynx, like a breed of like wild cat, and this movie introduces reptiles. See, the first Zootopia had only mammals, but this movie introduces reptiles. So, like, one of the lead characters is a snake, as a pit viper. And we learned that long ago, reptiles used to live in Zootopia, but they were all pushed out by the ruling mammal class. And so, the villain of this movie is not Linksley. Paulbert Linksley is the dude's son. Yeah, he's the youngest of the villain is the Linksley family, which are again these like lynx cats, and they're very rich and powerful, and they want to keep it that way. They want to bury any evidence that reptiles used to live in Zootopia. Paulbert Linksley is like a not a side character. He is I guess one of the lead characters at first, who is like he wants to go against his family's wishes and actually help bring reptiles to the light and give them civil rights. Going back to the metaphor, I felt like this movie, I don't know if this was their motive, but Disney's motive, but I feel like the whole villain plot was a bit of a historical allegory for like Native American genocide and like Europeans colonizing America. That's kind of the that's the connection I picked up on. I have no idea if that was what they were thinking when they made it, but that's just kind of a little connection that I picked up on, because that's not uncommon with these movies. Or it could just be a conspiracy, who knows? But I thought it was pretty clever how they wove that in there. Again, if that was the intention. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? I thought the score was fine. It didn't seem that much different from the last movie, and the last movie was the score is fine. So yeah, the score is fine. The song by Shakira, because they got Shakira back, of course. It's just called Zoo. I think it's all right. I don't know if it's instantly as memorable as Try Everything, but it might be. I think it might be a better song. I don't know. I only heard it like twice during the movie. I guess I'll talk about the one last thing before I get to spoilers is this movie felt more fast paced than the last one. That could be because I'm an adult, and so therefore most, if not all, animated movies feel fast paced to me, because I'm used to a more, when you're used to like 3 hour long Kubrick films, that happens. But this one, because the last movie definitely took its time establishing the world of Zootopia and all that stuff. This movie felt more like go, 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 action, which at first was a little overwhelming, but it does slow down a little bit, which I actually kind of like. It gives us some time to like learn more about these new characters and even establish more relationships between the characters who we already knew in the first one. All right, let's get into spoilers. I'm gonna go back to the twist villain, because I said that this movie has an already established villain. Well, Disney couldn't help themselves, and they had to throw out another twist villain at the end. Yeah, Paulbert Linksley, the cat that's trying to help Judy and Nick and Gary the Snake. I love that the Viper's name is literally Gary the Snake. That was funny. I like that. I chuckled at that. But yeah, turns out that Paulbert Linksley is not friendly. He's actually totally in league with his evil, corrupt family. Which I'm like, to be fair, I genuinely did not see it coming. It was a pretty good twist, all things considered, because the movie does go out of its way to make you believe that Paulbert is actually like a friendly dude, and he doesn't believe in the evil corruption of his family, and he wants to help out, only to flip it on and say, it's like, no, never mind, he actually is totally evil, which, I mean, I didn't see it coming. At the same time, I am starting to get pretty sick and tired of every single Disney villain being a twist villain. I just think we have enough. You know, again, there's a lot of parallels from Zootopia 2 and Incredibles 2, where both are great movies. I love both movies. Both were made years after the original. Both pick up immediately after the original. And both are great. However, I'd say the weakest element in both movies is the villain, because Incredibles 2 also had a twist villain, and I just don't think that Incredibles 2's villain was all that good compared to Syndrome from the first one. And same thing here. Even though the first Zootopia did have a twist villain, that twist villain made a lot more sense. You know, I actually kind of, that one does make sense because, Mayor Bellwether, Assistant Mayor Bellwether, you know, in the first movie, her whole thing was like she wants to like, you know, drive out predators and like make prey the dominant species. I mean, it doesn't make sense at first, but like her whole goal is that she's racist, and in real life, racism doesn't make any fucking sense. So it actually does make sense when you think about it. But yeah, I thought, even though she wasn't revealed at the very end, I did like Bellwether as a villain more than the Linksleys in this one, because like even the villains we already know, the Linksley family being established at the very beginning, we just don't have enough screen time with them, and I would have liked a little more. Paulberg got a lot of screen time. Paulberg got pretty funny towards the end when he just went crazy and was like, and revealed his true nature, just over the top. I'm gonna burn down this house or whatever. That reminds me, there's actually a couple of references in the movie, some horror references. There's a scene when Nick and the beaver I didn't even mention. Let's see. Nibbles Maple Stick. I'm looking at the voice cast on Wikipedia right now. A beaver podcaster who's a conspiracy theorist, and they join Nick and Judy on their investigation or whatever. Yeah, apparently she and Nick end up in prison briefly, and they run into Bellwether, and it's a reference to Silence of the Lambs with her behind the glass, like cage or whatever it is, and that's like. That was pretty funny and pretty clever. And then at the end, when they find they discover the hidden or the buried reptile city under all the snow, and you know obviously Paulbert Linksley is going to go burn it down to bury any evidence that reptiles lived here or that reptiles helped build Zootopia. He goes through a snow hedge maze in The Shining, and he literally references like The Shining. They literally brought back like the sound leitmotif, like the score from The Shining for that one throwaway gag. I'm like, you know what? That takes effort. However, I don't think that reference was nearly as clever as the Silence of the Lambs one, but I don't care. I liked it. I thought it was funny. That's all that matters to me. But yeah, think about us. Danny Trejo is actually in the movie. He's very brief. Makes a very brief minor character, but he plays like this lizard in the movie, which I thought was funny. Seeing Danny Trejo as in anything, the machete guy in anything is pretty awesome. I wish that did I mention Patrick Warburton? Yeah, he's in the movie. There's another reference. Patrick Warburton plays like the new mayor of Zootopia, and he's pretty much just Kronk from Emperor's New Groove. I mean, he's in the same way that like mannerism, same voice actor, but and also like he's in league with the villain, but he's not really in it as much. You know, he kind of becomes a hero at the end, kind of like Gronk, you know. So that was kind of cool that they brought him back to play the same character again, but it was a neat little homage. That was I appreciate stuff like that. I think that's really about all I have, you know. I thought the animation looked great. I mean, animation always look great. I mean, and like for the past 10 years or so, saying the animation is good is like saying grass is green. I mean, yeah, for a Disney movie, but I mean, one thing I've always loved about Zootopia is, well, the city itself is that it's not like, you know how in some really lazy or like animated movies where the characters are all anthropomorphic, like, I think like another Disney example would be Chicken Little or like, Sing, those Sing movies from Illumination where like the city that they live in is just your ordinary human looking city, nothing special, even though they're all animals. Zootopia isn't like that. Like Zootopia, if you actually watch the first movie and watch this movie too, of course, like every piece of architecture, every public transportation, every building is specially designed for a type of animal. And they take all this into consideration, which I thought is a very clever and makes for a very creative looking movie. Very beautiful looking movie. Very interesting lore world building they have going on here. This sequel does what any good sequel does, and isn't just like, let's just do another one where the same thing. It actually does expand on the first one and justifies its own existence, which is what a good sequel should do. One last thing I'll say is that last year I saw Inside Out 2. Inside Out 2 was 9 years after the first one. Zootopia 2 is 9 years after the first one. I'm beginning to think that 9 years is the Goldilocks zone for how long you should wait to make a sequel. It's my new theory out there. Because sometimes a sequel comes out years after the first one. Oh man, I never saw this movie, but Top Gun Maverick was super successful, and that was like 3 decades after the first one. So maybe it is. But there have been movies that come out way too long after the first one, and they just feel like, why are you bringing this back if it's like a dead franchise? Versus, well, I guess an example could be The Matrix, the fourth Matrix movie. But then there's movies where it's like a movie comes out, typically in animation, like the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, and then the sequel is greenlit immediately after. I'm like, that seems too quick. That's pretty. At that point, it's pretty obvious. It's just a cash grab. I feel like with Zootopia and Inside Out, it's proving that 9 years, that's the Goldilocks zone. I'm hoping I'm right. I'm hoping that there's some other animated movie, some other Disney, Pixar, whatever, new movie comes out, and it's 9 years after the last one, and it proves to be just as good, if not better. So I will be right if that's the case. Let's see. We don't know yet. And I mean, that's all I got for Zootopia 2 thoughts on. I think tomorrow I'm going to record a RTR, but I don't know what it's going to be yet. So yeah, I'll upload it. That's all I got. See ya.